people want autonomy, right? They want freedom or liberty to make their own decisions. And then if the boss is coming in and she's finding out that you're doing things that somehow limit her options, and that takes away that autonomy. That's a big source of stress. All right, Marc, thanks for taking the time to be on here today. So first of all, where are you located in the world? And then we'll get into some basics about your business.
Well, first, thanks for having me, Todd. I'm here with you from Montreal, Canada.
Beautiful Montreal, Canada. I was there a couple of years ago, well, what seems like 12 years ago, pre-COVID, and loved it. Beautiful area.
It's a lovely sunny day. Still no snow, but waiting for it to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, the way I understand it, it's not unusual to have snow on Halloween in that area. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, cool. Well, tell us about your business. What's the name of your company? What type of work do you do? And then we'll go from there.
Well, my company's name is LIB, and we are general contractors specializing in turnkey design and construction commercial projects. We do a lot of office space, medical clinics, and a lot of biotech laboratories. We do chemical labs, biotech, any type of lab space. We love it.
Nice. And I want to come back to the name of your business, because that's a very important thing we want to make sure to talk about today. But let's talk about your origin story. How did you get started, and when did you start this business?
It's a good question, because it started pretty much like 13 years ago to this day.
Really?
It was actually October 8th, 2009, where I sold my first caulking job. So it was a $240 caulking job on a house nearby. After I had set up a website, and I got a call like an hour after, and went there and signed my first contract.
And was this the home services business?
Not at this point. It was just like it was called La Barre caulking or La Barre construction back then. I didn't have any license, didn't have a business card, didn't have nothing. I didn't even have a caulking gun when I went to see this client. It was just like I started with as little money as I could.
Yeah, sounds like it. So why did you? What was it? What you said, it was La Barre Construction? Is that what the name of the company was?
Yeah.
So why did you start that?
My idea was to start a maintenance service company, and I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't know how to get there. So I decided to start with the simplest service possible, which was, in my mind at this point, like caulking services. So let's buy a caulking gun and a ladder, and let's start. And that year we probably did like, I don't know, $80,000 in caulking jobs around the area, and I learned a lot about caulking.
Gotcha. So caulking business, I actually, we've been working together for over a year, and I didn't know you started off in caulking. Yeah. So started off with that, and then you had the home maintenance, or the maintenance or home services business. Was that the next evolution of the company, or was there something in between caulking and that?
Yeah, no, the services, the next service we kind of launched or accepted to tackle was painting services, and then it was bathroom renovation, and then a kitchen, and then the whole first floor, and then an extension. So we did a lot of like custom renovation to get to learn and to see what was going on in the industry, and try to make a profit. So honestly, we would say yes to pretty much anything. But my goal in the end was to start like a complete different division or company that would offer like a regular monthly service to homeowners in order to help them take care of everything around their house. So that was the goal. But it took like 3 years to get there.
And what was the name of that business?
Vesta.
Vesta.
And Vesta, which is the goddess of home, and it was the Vestal in the Roman Empire who were taking care of the I think the central fireplace to make sure that it would never go off.
Got it. And how did Vesta go? How did that wind up for you?
Well, when I decided it was time to tackle this project with serious energy and cash, I bought myself 2 trucks. I hired a operation manager. I went all out, and for the first 6 months, I became one home expert myself, and went on a truck and tried to knock on doors and find people who would fall in love with my service. That's how it started.
And was this a subscription-based service where people paid a monthly fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had like a basic 4 visit a year service to do all the recurring, like filter maintenance, rooftop inspection, stuff like that. On top of which we would add like a lot of different services like window cleaning, gutter cleaning, or like any other handyman type of jobs.
And we had a couple of conversations about this, and you shared that if you had it to do over again, I think you said you would not offer the a la carte type handyman services. Is that right?
Yeah. That's where, after like 3 years of trying to satisfy everyone, I realized that it was just impossible. Like, homeowners have so many different ways to see how things should get done in their house, and it's so emotional that it's just impossible to satisfy everyone. Like, one thing would satisfy one person, and the same would not satisfy at all someone else.
What would you say were some of the biggest lessons from Vesta?
I would say like trying to focus a bit more, to offer like some sort of a standardized service would be better. If I really wanted to do like the residential sort of a small invoice item, it would need to be a lot more standardized than what I decided to do. But the demand was there. It was just very tough to satisfy everyone.
Yeah, operationally, that's a tough business. I've seen several people like on Twitter say, "Man, somebody needs to build this business," and I know of a few custom home builders who offer this to their clients after they build, kind of an extended warranty type program, which has a lot of benefits. But it seems like there's a huge demand, but I haven't seen many people crack the nut on that yet.
Well, for some clients, you can find a client, like some clients will say yes and will be happy with everything. So those are the best clients. You just need to take the time to find them. I was not that patient. Like, well, I didn't have a large enough bank account to wait for that to happen. Because at that time I still had La Barre Construction going on, doing like, I don't know, 2 million in sales, doing home extensions and stuff like that. And I would spend probably 20% of my time on that. So the whole team was pretty much taking care of that business by themselves. And I got very tired of trying to make people happy in Vesta and the other company while still losing a ton of money every year. So it was a tough tough situation.
Yeah. So how did you make the transition from Vesta and residential remodeling to commercial, what you're doing now?
Well, one day I was on a roof of a house. I don't know doing what, probably caulking. I don't know, seriously. But I felt so tired. I had like to lay on the roof and wait before climbing down. So, and I was like, I don't think that's normal. So I called my wife, who's a physician, and she told me, "Well, come to the ER, and we'll refer you to someone." And then I had some sort of virus, and it shouldn't happen. And I got so tired, I needed to rest. So doctor's ordered rest. So after like I don't know a few weeks, I decided to stop everything, to stop my home maintenance service, and to stop my renovation company. And because like home renovation was 85% of our 2.5 million dollar business back then. And we had started a few years back doing office space and office renovations, and we realized that for those projects, everything went well all the time. Clients were happy, not in our way because they were busy building their business and doing something else than managing our project or their project. So we decided to focus solely on commercial office space project. But for that, we really needed to change everything because I wanted to say no to everything related to residential. So I changed the name of the company, changed the website, changed everything. I just kept my team. So, and it took, I would say, 18 months to go back to where we were in terms of volume. And at that point, maybe 4 years later now, we just did like a bit more than 14 millions in sale last year, doing only commercial jobs with clients that are happy to deal with us and happy to let us do what we do best, which is managing construction projects. So I couldn't be happier that day I kind of laid on that roof, like about to, I don't know, die or something. But now I'm very happy. I made that call and changed. It changed my whole life.
So I've spoken with, I think I've only worked with one other person who hit the reset button, basically shut everything down. Most people, for a variety of reasons, can't or won't try that. What was going through your head back then as you contemplated making this change? What were some of the major concerns that you had?
Well, it was either that or nothing at all. It would be like closing the business, saying bye-bye to all my employees and everything, because it was not working the way it was. And even my employees, like doing residential projects, they were not happy dealing with emotional clients and stuff like that. So they told me, like, Marc, if you sign another like home extension for some rich homeowner somewhere, we're not there to help you. We're not going to be there to deliver. So do it on your own. So like every like the stars were aligned to do something else.
So it sounds like there wasn't much of a choice. It wasn't like,
No.
should I continue with residential or commercial? It was like, it's either commercial or nothing.
But I could have tried to convince them, but I'm glad I did not. And today I'm very happy to tell you that pretty much all of my team members from back then are still with us and working very well with us, with much better pay than they used to have back then, because different project, bigger projects, more interesting projects, so they keep learning and enjoying what they do.
That's remarkable. A lot of people would say, there are residential project managers and superintendents, and there are commercial project managers and superintendents. But it sounds like your team transitioned from one to the other very successfully, which is pretty remarkable and probably bumps up against some beliefs that people have about how people can't change. Yeah.
Well, I must admit it was not always successful. We had to add some healthy dose of patience, I would say, and be patient and learn with them, because it was new for me. It was new for most of my team, but everyone enjoyed working together, and we knew that if we did our best to make our clients happy, it would end up being way easier than what we did before.
Yeah. So the name of your company means a lot to you. It actually is one of your core values or guiding principles. Talk about the name of your company, and then what does that name mean?
Lib comes from liberty, and in French, lib literally means to be free, to be libre, être libre. And so liberty for me is what I think people are looking forward to when they wake up in the morning. They want to be able to decide for themselves, to be able to choose what's best for them, and be able to feel free to make the choices they want. So that's our first value in the company, and it's my first value as a person, and I try to share it with as many people as I can, because I think it fits with a lot of folks around.
So liberty is not just a word that you throw around. It actually shows up in day-to-day operations. It shows up with how you make decisions. We'll talk about one of the big initiatives that you're focused on over the next few years in a moment, or toward the end of this conversation. But let's talk about, how does that show up? How does liberty, being a core value, show up for your employees, for example?
Sure. In order for myself to feel free, or to gain or to access that liberty, well, I realized soon that I needed to give it to other people around me. So I tried since the very beginning to give a lot of liberty to folks around me to make their own decisions regarding pretty much anything related to a project. We usually discussed it together at first, and then took decisions together. But at one point, when I felt that person was reliable, which is our second value. So reliability is very important to me as well. It's not just being free and do whatever you want, whenever you want. If you tell me you're going to do something at this time tomorrow, well, you better do it. Or liberty is going to be more limited for you, But and for the people who are reliable, well, their liberty is constantly growing. And I've built my team, not only my team of employees, but my team of subcontractors this way as well.
What about with your clients? How does the core value, let's talk about those two core values of liberty and reliability, how does that show up in your daily activities or interactions with clients?
I would say I would need to add my third value to make sense, because they're all interconnected. And that our third value is sustainability, and sustainability is not just with the environment and all of that. And it's the priority in the end, because we need to survive on this planet. But sustainability is also to make sure that whatever we do how we do it. We need to make it so that it's good for the long run for everyone, including our clients. But not only our clients, it needs to be good for the community. It needs to be good for the subcontractors. It needs to be good for my employee. It needs to be good for the business, to make people feel free, or to give liberty to people. They need to be reliable, and for it to happen on the long run, we need to do it well all the time. To be honest, to respect our clients, our employees, our subcontractors, and the environment. So it's all interconnected. That's how I would say that.
Yeah, that's great. It's so great to see core values actually show up in reality. So many times they stay stuck on a poster in the break room or in some manual or on the website, but they don't actually show up in real life. And I can say, based on working with you for the time that we've worked together, it shows up. It's been very encouraging and inspiring to see how deep your core values actually go into your company.
And it's fun to notice when we interview people to work for us, and we talk about it. We talk about these values, and they their eyes usually lit up like very like vividly. But for some people, like they're very attracted to the liberty, but they realize quite fast that reliability is also very important to us. So there's for some people there's a disconnect between those two, and well,
yeah, but
it's fun to feel free, but it comes with some responsibilities. You know?
Yeah. So you have achieved great success that in an area of business that a lot of people really aspire to, which is you have a team in place, and you have a business that allows you a great deal of freedom, and you are truly operating as a CEO and the visionary, and the business runs without you on a day-to-day basis. Not completely without you, but a lot of people I hear say things like, I have 200 or 300 messages a day. I'm constantly getting pulled out to job sites to deal with issues. Every problem falls in my lap. I'm wearing all the hats. And you've made great strides in that direction of having a business that gives you freedom. So one of the things we've talked about in the past is the E-Myth, the book by, looking at it, Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. In your opinion, what is that E-Myth? What's your interpretation of the E-Myth that most small business owners believe that is the root cause of a lot of their problems?
Well, the way I understood that book, which was one of the first book I read, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, and I found it like, well, it's a short, simple book, and it shows just so straightforward. It's basically, if you feel like you're the best technically at something, like you're the best plumber, the best electrician, the best carpenter, you should start your own business, because you're probably better than your own boss. So that's the first idea that comes to mind. But again, when you actually start a business, you realize that the only important thing is not just to be good at operations and doing the actual stuff. You need to be good at so many different things, like finance, sales, marketing, HR, customer service, IT. So you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. So that's where I think most like startups fail, because they are very good at what they do technically, but not at the rest of what a company needs.
There's a common thread through the book. I think her name is Sarah, and she owns a pie shop. And in this story, he's having this conversation. I think her name's Sarah. She definitely makes pies. and she was really good at making pies. And everybody told her, Sarah, you should open up your own bakery and make your pies. And she was like, yeah, I love making pies. And then she did that. And then shortly thereafter, she hates the business and it's sucking the life out of her. And she's up to her eyeballs in debt and she's exhausted because she believed the myth that in order to be a successful pie maker, you just have to be good at making pies. And I remember when I read that, I just read that book, even though people have been telling me about it for years. I just read it in the last year or so. And I thought, man, I wish I had read this book 25 years ago, because it would have saved me a lot of heartache, because that's what I believed. I remember thinking, here I am managing these complicated multi-million-dollar commercial projects. I can go build custom homes and do renovations and things like that. And wow, was I in for a surprise.
I'll be better than my boss. It's easy.
Yeah. Why am I remember thinking this, I'm making this big company all this money. Why not just go make it myself? And
exactly.
It was so naive. And because I thought it was all about building and that everything else would just sort of take care of itself. And yeah, like cash flow. I remember how stupid was this, thinking I just never thought about cash flow. I just sort of, I guess, assumed it would take care of itself.
Yeah.
And wow, was I wrong about that? That is for certain. So let me ask you this: when you set out, when you started this business, did you design it? Did you design it from the ground up to run without you from the beginning, or did you have to make that transition midstream?
I would be lying to say it was intentional from the get-go. The business is 13 years old now. And I've been working with Natasha, who's my director of operations, for 12 years now. At the beginning, when I hired her, was to take care of La Barre construction, to take care of all the renovations we were dealing with. And I would be the one taking care of the other company, which was supposed to be the biggest, brightest venture of all. So when I came back a few years later and decided to forget that failing venture, she was still there and she was better than ever, and they already taking care of all operations. So she was just happy to see me back and focusing my attention on one single business and finally taking care of sales, strategy, vision, all the stuff that I was taking care of in the other venture. So I think at this point, it was not a surprise that it took so little time to get back to where we were in terms of sales volume, because she was there, she was taking care of operation. That gave me all the time I needed to focus my time on marketing, finance, vision, strategy, customer service, and all of that. And that's how we develop our relationship, and it works great to this day.
Let's talk about that relationship. In the book Traction, there are two terms: the visionary, the big picture, long range planning person, and then there's the integrator, the person who is detail oriented, putting systems in place, really running the engine. And they're very different roles based on our work together. You're very much the visionary and she's great at being the integrator. What have you found to be some of the keys to that relationship of making that, what makes that work well?
I haven't read Traction, but I've read Rocket Fuel, who's where they talk a lot about that duo as well. The way I understood it after reading that book, that clarified my role and hers. So I made her read this book like as soon as possible so we could both realize what was our respective roles in the company. So it made it way clearer, and it gave us some rules as well, because as the visionary, I have like lots of ideas, probably too many of them, not all good ones. But well, I'm always on the lookout for the next best thing, and what's the best way to improve our company, what's the next business venture. And like, so focus is not my strong my cup of tea, let's say it this way. I'm not the best, but she is. So her role is to make things happen. So it takes someone like that, because if not, it's not going to happen. So she takes care of all the operations. She makes sure everything runs well. But in the end, and that was one of the realization we had, is she should be the one making the ultimate decision on tackling a new project, or integrating a new software, or doing the next best thing. I had the idea, but maybe it's not the right timing. Maybe it's too complicated for now. Maybe it's a good idea and we should do it. But that's her role to say, yes, we'll do it. Here's how it's going to go, and help me do this and that, but I'll take care of the rest.
So it sounds like you're bringing these ideas to her, and she has the ability to veto them. Is that what you're saying? She can say,
and that should be the case. It's not always the case, but since we've been working together for 12 years, we have good discussions and healthy conversations, and we usually find common ground.
Yeah. So the keys would be having some rules, having clear understanding about roles, what's in, what's out. I've worked with quite a few visionaries, and sometimes they cross the line a little bit.
Yeah, that's the entrance.
What are some of those rules that maybe let's call them guardrails or lines on the side of the road, that as the visionary you try to stay in between?
One very important thing that I would not or would never do is like go behind our back to talk to one of our employees about like a serious situation, and without even her knowing it. That would be like, in, I don't know, 5 minutes destroying a 12-year relationship. So I would never do that. So I would always talk to her first, and she would usually take care of it. Or if it's like a touchy situation where she'd rather have me take care of it, we'll often play like the good cup, bad cups like relationship. So for some clients, suppliers, employees, depending on the relationship we have, it's either going to be me or her that's going to be the bad cup or the good cup, and we'll try to get out of a tough situation like that. But gotcha. I would never go over her head to tackle a problem or a situation before I talk to her first.
Yeah. Why is that? What would that do to, you said that in 5 minutes you could ruin a 12-year relationship. Why is that?
It would be, and respecting, I don't want to say the word authority, but it kind of is like, that's her business. Like that's her playground. So if we define at the very beginning of this game that my playground is going to be this and hers going to be that, and I keep stealing her toys in her sandbox, well, it's impossible for her to feel free first and to be happy. So it's unsustainable.
Yeah. That's what that makes me think about is a couple of things. One, people want autonomy, right? They want freedom or liberty to make their own decisions. And then if the boss is coming in and she's finding out that you're doing things that somehow limit her options, and that takes away that autonomy. That's a big source of stress. And then it also shows, it can be interpreted as, wow, he must not trust me if he's jumping into situations. And the analogy I use is, it's football season here, and you would never see the head coach or the head coach of a football team like pull the headset off, run out onto the field, and run a play, right? They don't do that, because one, it's against the rules, and then if they did that, then the team would be incredibly confused. Like, I thought we were running this play, and now the coach is in here, and then the coach runs a couple of plays and runs off the field, puts the headset back on, and then everybody's still confused. So it's like, what do we do now? And I see this a lot, where in certain situations, like, the owner says, I really need to step in and take care of this because it's a big deal. And it's just this once. And they step into the play, they solve the issue, strap on the Superman cape, solve the issue, and then they step off the field and they just expect everybody to go back to normal. But everybody else on the team is thinking, okay, is Todd going to handle that from now on? And what does that mean? And Todd doesn't trust me, and all this other stuff. There are so many ripple effects.
And not only that, is the reality is, people with eyes on the ground will probably make a way better decision than yours.
That is so true.
It's not only a bad decision in terms of relationship with that person, but it's also probably a bad business decision at all.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's this a myth, and a lot of people believe it, that he or she who is higher on the org chart is better equipped to make the decision. And the reality is, and this is something that the military has figured out, is the reality is that he or she closest to the problem is best equipped to make the decision. So it's best to push authority, push information out. There's a book I think it's called Power to the Edge. The concept is decentralized command, pushing authority and decision-making and information out to the edge and let those people make the decisions. And it works so much better, but it's really hard for some people.
Yeah, but again, when you succeed in doing so, you free yourself a lot more to think about the next idea, the next best thing, it frees you to manage your company, to work on your company and not work in your company.
Yeah. So let's give some people some other things to think about who are listening the next time they're tempted to pull the headset off and jump into the middle of the play and solve a problem. So they need to realize, like, you're probably thinking that you're the best one suited to handle this issue, but it's very possible that somebody else is better suited to solve this problem. There could be some collateral damage to the relationship by stepping in just this one time. What else? What are some other considerations people should run through when they're in that situation? What do you think?
Well, one thing you need to think of is, if you want your staff to get better and to trust themselves more and more after every project, they need to learn by making mistakes. There's not much other ways. And I made lots of mistakes, and we as a team made some more, and it's part of the process. So you have to learn to live with that and accept it, and not treat people like they did badly. No, they just tried something. You should reward them. So when I see something like that, I'm always thinking, like, it's important to offer support, to offer help, to make sure that people feel like they have you have their back. but you cannot do much more. If they consult you and you tell them your opinion, and they end up making another decision because they thought it was the best decision, and in the end it's not the right one, you still need to have their back. And the more you do it, the more you're going to free yourself and free them as well. So there's no quick fix. It's a long-term thing. But if you want it, like I said, sustainability is very important for us. So there's no other way.
It's definitely it's a long-term, it's a long game. If you think about the situation in front of you, you'll probably make the short-term mistake, probably not make the best decision. But that's really good advice, is people need to learn and they need to get some reps in. They need to make some mistakes. And then I think it's incredibly powerful when someone does make a mistake and then you respond to it the right way. It really builds a lot of trust.
Oh, yeah. And then after not a long time, again, you need to have the right people on board. But I like to say, when you hire adults, don't treat them like kids, because they're going to stay kids.
That's a good point. I've heard I just saw something from Steve Jobs, and it was they asked him the question, like, do you dictate things to your team? He's like, why would I do that? My job is to go hire the smartest people in the world. Why would I do that and then tell them what to do? And I think that could be another myth. We talk about myths that small business owners tend to believe. One is you have to be the best. And if you believe that, if you believe that myth, that you have to be the best at something or the only, then you're going to make those decisions.
And people around you will feel it. And if you're around someone that feels like he's the best and you're not better than this person, will you keep that relationship for long? Chances are you're not.
No, those good people will leave eventually.
Oh, yeah.
And then the sad thing is that the person who believes the E-myth will push people away, hold them down, prevent them from being successful, sometimes because they're intimidated by anybody who's better than them. And then eventually that person will throw their hands up and say, screw this, I'm out. And then that person, that business owner, will say, you know what, you just can't find good help. People just don't want to work these days.
Yeah, everyone else but me is stupid.
Yeah, the problem is all out there. Yeah. All right, next question. Why give away equity in your business? This is something that people struggle with. Some people struggle with profit sharing, the idea of giving away equity. Why would I ever do that? So you've recently made the decision to do this. If you don't mind talking about it, why give away equity in your business?
Well, first, I'm not giving anything away. I'm
that's a good point. That's a good point.
And I think it's important, because if you're giving it, it means there's no value to it.
Mm.
But selling shares in my company, has always been something on my mind. And the first reason is, again, for sustainability, to make it more stable, to make my foundation stronger. And by doing so, I'm trying to align the interests of my key employee or key employees with mine, And when they trust you, they share the burden and the rewards with you. I can't see how on the long run it can't be like the best thing possible for everyone.
Yeah, definitely a long range decision.
You don't do it with the first person you meet with, but again, when you feel like you have the right team, you just don't want to lose people, and you want to motivate them, and you want to share the good things, because if they feel again that you're the only one profiting from their work, well, they might be at one point the next E-myth, and they'll start their own company thinking they're the best.
Yeah. Yep. That's very true. Let's talk about some mindset shifts. You've figured out a lot of things, a lot of tactics and strategies, and put systems in place and people in place to have a business that runs without you and allows you the freedom to operate as the visionary. But what are some of the biggest mindset shifts necessary for someone to own a business that runs without them?
Well, we talked about it a bit, but you definitely need to accept that things won't be done your way, because you won't be the one like doing it. So it's normal, and everyone's different. So it will not be done your way. You need to accept that. And at one point, it might be done in a better way. So that's the first thing. So the fact is, at the beginning, like, things will probably be a little worse than if you've tackled everything yourself and taking care of everything by doing it yourself and taking all the decisions. But you have to trust that they like your staff have your team has the power to make decisions and make things happen the way they think is best for the company. And after, it's not a long run, it's like very like in the short run, you will notice and you will be surprised at how they are way better than you to make decisions. Sometimes it's just the small things, like, okay, I'll buy at this shop instead of this other shop because of this or because of that, or I'll buy this tool instead of this one because I know I've talked to one of my friends who's a carpenter as well, and okay, well, how could I have known myself? So start with the little things and grow from there. And in the end, you'll realize that you're not necessary to take a lot of decisions.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is that there's a small business owners in the early phases have they touch everything. They're doing the sales, the marketing, the estimating, dealing with the customers, buying out the project, managing the project, doing the punch list. They're doing everything. And when they start to hand things off to people, when they're not touching, they're not at the job site all the time, or they're not communicating with the client, or they're not actively involved in one phase of the project, that's a tough jump for people to make. And there are fears that come in, especially with customers. So to the person who is afraid of giving up that contact with a customer, afraid, if I'm not talking to the customer, how will I know what's going on? Or something I hear is people will say, well, I've got this relationship with this client for the past 10 years and I'm the guy and I have to maintain, they're expecting me to manage their project, even as the owner. What would you say to those people who are afraid or reluctant to hand off the client to somebody on their team?
It's a good question and a tough one as well, because we've been in that position. But again, if you don't want, and you have a choice, you can keep doing it this way and stay busy doing stuff that you might not want to be doing anymore, or you make some change and you accept that someone slowly but surely will take over your client, and whenever you feel like it, and at your own pace, you can introduce this person, and over the course of whatever, like, you feel comfortable with, well, this person will probably be able to gain trust from you and from your clients, and it will be way more natural at this point. So there's a slow way to do it, or you can just give a new client that doesn't know you personally yet to someone else, and then deal with the consequences and see what happens. There's a
So it seems like set expectations. I think one mistake people make two mistakes people make. One would be to micromanage and say, here, this is your project. And then they just continue to hold on to the project and micromanage. The other is they're completely hands off and they just disappear. And there has to be some middle ground. So yeah, if you're in that situation, just make a plan on how you're going to do it. How will you stay connected? What do you really need to look at? What reports can you look at? How can you keep your thumb on the pulse without being a burden to that other person?
And I think the right approach for that situation, well, the way I see it, is just to be supportive, to be there, to make your team feel like they can rely on you if they need to. But at one point, they won't need you, and they'll be glad to see you, but you're pretty much going to be a bit useless. And that's where it becomes like, I don't know how to say that, but it's a different situation where you're like, oh, I do feel useless. What have I done? But your business is doing like amazingly well. You're free, but free is it can be a scary thing as well. And as a visionary, it gives you maybe too much time to think about the next best thing to do. And but you have to learn to deal with that and bring your best to your team by just supporting them and just pushing gently towards your vision, and things should go well.
Yeah, that you bring up an interesting point. When you succeed at having a business that will run without you to some extent, it creates some problems. The feeling of uselessness. It's like they don't need me. And if you have to be the firefighter, then sometimes I've seen people who go create fires just so they have something to do.
Yeah,
let these emergencies build up. But it's something to be prepared for, because you need to have something else to do. Otherwise, you will just, by default, go right back into operations or sales or something. So
or you will go to other actions to get busy, and then you'll think about, oh, let's grow the company. We'll get the next client, or we're going to go after like bigger clients. For that, we'll lower the margins. We'll say yes to things that we don't know much about, or we'll buy a competitor, or we'll buy a supplier, or whatever. In my opinion, that's one of the best and the worst way to create some fires in your company. And I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It's a constant challenge for myself. Like, okay, what's the next best thing for my company and my team? Is it to do an acquisition? Is it to get into a different market? But I know there's going to be like fires created by my decision. So we keep going with the flow and surfing the wave, or we try a new wave.
Yeah. One thing we've talked a lot about is a concept from Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, which is work for work's sake.
Yeah.
Are we just working for work's sake? And sometimes there's growth just for growth's sake. Why grow? And we've had a lot of conversations about the growth philosophy. What is your growth philosophy? Do you want to grow? I spent some time with a company a few weeks ago who had the opportunity to double or triple in size and headcount over the next couple of years. And I asked, is that what you want? Just because the opportunity's there, is that what you want? Because how bad would it be to spend 10 or 20 years building something and look up and say, man, I hate this. I never wanted to have a company this big. Yeah. So be intentional about that.
It's, I don't know. We, as you said, we've talked about that many times over. And I've been in business for 20 years now. And I know that going with the flow, which doesn't mean not growing, is probably the easiest, most boring way to succeed. But again, it's safe, and it keeps the business sustainable. It's part of our value. Does it keep myself and the team freer? Probably, but it's a bit boring. So as an entrepreneur, there's two sides to this coin, and it's a constant challenge. Well, in our situation, we are growing fast because we are specializing in more and more in the type of projects we do. The clients we have are very happy about what we do, and they give us more and more projects. So our business projects are getting more and more recurring. So it's just amazing. So it's in my mind, that's going with the flow. So keep growing while it happens. So we surf that wave. But since I set myself up for having time to think about it even more than that, I still have more ideas that I need to control, not repress, but control. And I would say discuss with my integrator to make sure it fits with the vision of the company, not the vision, but the fits with the operation of the company.
Yeah. So one of the visions, or one of the next best things that we've been talking about for the last several months, maybe longer now, is a pretty large initiative that you're thinking about. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. One thing I realized after like reading, attending to seminars, and just looking at the world where it is now, I realized we in Canada will need more housing. And we hear the government and the news telling the market that, well, there's a lack of affordable housing now, and it's only going to get worse in the coming years and decades. So I'm here and I'm like, okay, we've been a general contractor for many years. We do a lot of very technical projects. We do design, we do construction, we do project management. Could we build affordable, sustainable housing better than what's offered now? I don't know, but just asking the question excites me. I'm slowly flirting with the idea of finding a way to build better, more affordable, more durable housing, with the goal of maybe having net zero or even net positive housing units. And this way, it would help everyone around me, my employees, because we're going to have again more growth, the community, the environment, and I don't know. I don't see how it doesn't fit with our values and the way we can help the world around us within the next couple of years.
Very cool. Well, I really appreciate your time. I want to be a good steward of your time. You've been very, very generous with it. One last question. If people want to learn more about your company or connect with you, where are the best places for them to do that?
For the company, well, there's a website, lib.space, lib.space. But to connect directly with me, I guess they would need to call you, or I can give you my email, or you can have my email and phone number in the comments somewhere. So it's easy for people to reach me directly.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying not to be on the forefront of the company. You will have a tough time reaching me through the website.
Probably by design. So are you on LinkedIn or anything like that?
I'm on LinkedIn, and the website, as I say, is a pretty good way to learn a bit more about what we do.
Yeah. So probably the best place is go to lib.space. And if you're just desperate to contact Marc, then you can go to his website, try that. And if that doesn't work by design, then you can contact me, look me up.
It will work. It will work. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you really ask to speak to me, someone will contact me. Usually within an hour.
Yes, but here's my request: don't contact Mark and say, "I'd love to pick your brain," or "Could we get together for coffee?" Don't. And as far as that goes, if you send me a message that says, "Hey, I'd love to pick your brain," it's just not going to happen. We don't pick brains around here. So if you have a good question, put that question in there. But I digress. Mark, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. And thanks for sharing all this. Folks, you know where to go to connect with Mark.
Thanks, Todd, for your time. It was very interesting to, again, speak about vision, management, and all. It's so important for everyone. So I'm very glad that we took the time to discuss that together.
Me too. Thanks, Mark.